All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Electorate Political Talk Radio. We are here with our special guest, Mr. Rob Stewart. What's going on, brother?
Good evening, my brother. It is an honor to be here. This is a momentous occasion.
Man, we honored to have you, man. Candidate for Alabama State Senate District 23, Michael Jordan number. What's going on, man?
Hey, that means I have to win. This is less of pressure.
Cool, man. Well,
I'm
look,
loving the
man.
t-shirt. Loving the t-shirt, by the way, as a Tuskegee alum.
Yeah, I knew you went to
And
Tuskegee. We
yeah.
my brother and sister, Robo and Brittany went to Tuskegee, so
Oh
I'm
yeah.
honorary.
Oh, you're in the family. You are definitely in the family.
Yeah, man, I'm honorary everybody alumni. I'm finna join some alumni associations if they don't kick me out. But we
Come
support
on. Come on.
HBCUs over here.
Yes, you should. We have you don't have to be an alum to be a part of our alumni association at Tuskegee. We have an associate membership. So
Okay.
keep it, so you should consider that.
I'm in, man. I'm in. I think Alabama State has a society that they just started. I'm finna join them.
You should
I'm
do
gonna
that
join
too. You
A&M.
should do it. Do it.
Well, man, look, man, we got a little under an hour. We're going to get right to it. We are broadcasting live on Facebook for those who know my government name. We broadcasting live on YouTube, and we're broadcasting live on the Twitter. So I didn't know Twitter did that until I logged on earlier today. So I'm like, okay, we're going to see it. We're going to see how it look after the
Yeah,
broadcast.
let's explore. Let's use our technology to our advantage.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, man, Rob Stewart, Tuskegee alum, candidate for Alabama State Senate, District 23, man. Just tell our audience who you are and why you're running for this office.
Yes. Like I say, I'm grateful for this platform this evening. Rob Stewart, government name Robert Stewart, son of Selma, Alabama. That's where I was born and reared. Graduate of Tuskegee. Former a reformed accountant. I did that for a number of years before transitioning into public service. And I worked as a congressional staffer in the Black Belt and
Okay.
five of the 8 counties that I'm running to represent are in the district. So, the congressional district, they are realigned in 5 of the 8 counties. So I'm very familiar with the region, very familiar with the issues of the region. Currently, I'm working as a tax policy lobbyist for a progressive organization and think tank based out of DC called Public Citizen.
Okay.
And, I'm running. What inspired me to run is a sense of gratitude. That is the guiding force that is encouraging me to run. I have people in my family who were foot soldiers in the civil rights movement. We buried my grandmother last month. She was a nurse on Bloody Sunday.
Oh, man, my
90,
condolences.
I
My condolences,
appreciate it.
brother.
But her spirit is living in me, 92 years old. She told me at
Right,
a young
right.
age, she was like, Robert, you are going to be in politics and you're going to lead our people. And so I can't let her down. I had a great childhood in Selma, strong community, sense of self determination, and just so many people in the district have poured into me. And so that's why I'm running the gratitude. This community has stepped up for me, and now it's time for me to step up for this community, District 23.
Man, that's awesome, man. And I'm glad to hear that. And I'm glad to see young people running. Um, Tell us a little bit about you spoke a little bit about it in your last answer. Tell us about the district, some of the counties and the towns. My hometown of Monroeville
Mm-hmm.
is in this district. So shout out
Yes,
to the 5-1.
yes, we have, in a lot of our communities, I like to joke and say our communities are connected as Alabama back roads.
I
Okay.
know that's right.
And
What they know about
so
Highway 5? They
Highway
don't know nothing about
5, you
that.
know, in 84, one of those
84, yeah.
84, 69,
Man, what you
22.
talking about?
And so I had to drive all these roads in my last job. And
Man, I
even
done
as
been
a
back and forth on
child,
them roads forever.
yeah, you talk about highways and byways. When they say byways in church, those Alabama back roads, those are some byways.
Yeah.
And so, and I always felt a kindred spirit between the people of Monroe, just good people.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
Selmians, you won't find better people. District 23 is the epicenter of Southern hospitality, and a lot of
Right.
activities that happened in this district have helped push our nation forward.
Change the
It's
world.
changed the world,
I mean,
like
Edmund, what happened on Edmund Pettus Bridge literally changed the world.
yes, it made
We
it
have
made our
rights today.
yes,
Yeah,
it forced our democracy to be realized, and that's what the people of District 23 have done. Great tourism destinations in Monroe. We all had to read To Kill a Mockingbird
that's right.
in school. So
To Kill a
Dallas,
Mockingbird. Now we
To
got
Kill
Just Mercy.
Just
I
Mercy.
get
We
all
have that
those.
now.
They're like, what's going
Um,
on in Monroeville, man? I was like,
yeah,
hey, it's history, man. That's
but
what it is.
I was in Monroe last week or a couple of weeks ago, and I had some AJs and
Oh yeah, cool.
did a tour of Frisco City down there in Monroe County.
Oh yeah. And
And
you were
so
in Conecuh County
Connecticut County
yesterday,
yesterday,
or
we're
one thing I will say about your
Connecticut Butler.
campaign, man, you are pounding the pavement early, and that's very impressive. Now, tell us about your trip yesterday.
Yes, well, I have the energy to do it. After I got off work, there was a Democratic Party meeting down in Connecticut County. So I just took the short trip down there and, just telling them about my platform. Our platform is restoring power to the people. And, in
Right, right,
politics, we
right,
talk about meat. In politics, they say you have the meat and the potato, the meat and potato issues. And so the people with our platform, the people are the meat, the potatoes are the issues. And so we want to restore power to the people, just spreading and trying to get buy-in from the district on our platform. We restore power to the people through investments. Our state is at a crossroads right now, and it's going to take,
right.
and we know you don't even have to tell people what they need. It's about listening. Our politicians should listen and serve the people. And it's about restoring power to the people. That's what distinguished our campaign, is that it's a people-driven campaign, not on my credentials or whatever. It's about using the platform to amplify the voices of the people in District 23. And we want to restore power to the people through investments, critical investments. Investments.
Now let me
Yep.
okay, yeah, let me ask you this. What are some of the biggest challenges you think and issues facing District 23 and the state of Alabama in general? And you know, it's no secret Republicans run Alabama. They
Mm-hmm.
got the governor office, they've got the Senate and the House
Mm-hmm.
majorities. What are some of the issues that our state faces, particularly this district? And how can you work with Republicans to get some of these things done?
Well, I'll tell you this: just because you may be in the minority party, that does not mean you cannot wield influence. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
I'm a student, of the 7 habits of highly effective people, and you have to seek first to understand and then be understood. And I understand, my grandma always said a broke clock is right twice a day, right?
Twice a day.
And
That's
so,
right.
Republicans aren't all bad,
Right.
and so when you're right, you're right. But we can wield influence. We can advocate for our communities. The issue is that economic development has not been equally distributed across the state. And
Right. Right. Right.
District 23 deserves more, and the state has more money right now than you can shake a stick at, that was passed down from the federal government. And so we can use these resources to transform our communities, because when District 23 rises, the whole state rises. And we have to make sure
Right.
that that message is understood in no uncertain terms, whether you're black, white, Democratic, Republican. It's about having shared concerns about the whole state.
Right. Okay. So now you're running. We're gonna get into the politics a little bit. So you're running to replace Malika Sanders, 48, if I'm saying that correctly. She's running for governor. She's the daughter of one of your opponents, the former Senator Hank Sanders, who's a legend, a titan in Alabama
And someone who
politics.
I respect. Someone who I respect.
Right. It's not all about, one thing I wish people understood about politics, particularly in small town communities and districts like District 23, everybody knows each other. These families are connected. People grew up together. Just
And it's
because
nothing personal.
it's nothing personal. It's just we have an election of competing ideas. But I did want to ask you about some of those politics. I'm running against Dario Melton, who's a former House member, a young lady by the name of Thayer Spencer. And so what I wanted to touch on is how do you convince some of the elders who've been voting for Brother Sanders for many years? I don't want to put a number out there because I don't know the exact number. How do you convince them to pass that torch to the younger generation, a son of Selma, if you will?
Yep. Well, I think it's important, because I don't view them as opponents. Like when people ask me, who are you running
Right.
against? No, I'm not running against anyone. I'm running for the people. I'm running for this position.
Right.
Now, when you talk about elders, elders, they make a way for the younger generation.
Right.
And
I got you.
so we have been building momentum, building coalitions. Um, and we have people, our senior citizens and elders, they want change. They want something different, something fresh. And so, it's really important that we get our message across. And that's what I'm trying to do every chance I get is to get buy-in. And I'm not that young. That's the thing. Like
Right.
I've been out of college for it'll be 10 years in May. I have a
Right.
strong record of service. I'm not just anybody off the street. These people, they know me. I've been in these communities. They know my families. On both sides of my family. I've come from the people who have a record of service, a record of giving back. My mom was a preschool principal and a social worker, and now she works for the city. My
Right.
dad, has been mentoring people for years in the community, and he works for the postal service. He's a government contractor right now. He worked with the youth before as a juvenile probation officer. I have aunts. My aunt, worked in education for a long time. So people have known my family. They've known me. They've known what I've done in the community, even as a child. And so a lot of people have just it's not a surprise to a lot of people that I'm running
Right.
because
A
these
lot
people
of
I
them,
was groomed.
they probably
I was
wondering what
groomed
you've
by
been waiting
them.
on.
Yeah. I was like, I was
Yeah.
groomed by them, and so now it's one of these opportunities where this is the best time to run for office. I'm working remotely, and if not now, then when? And
That's
so
right. That's
it's
right.
one of those things where you just get
The
thrown
fierce
in.
urgency of now.
Yeah, and time is of essence. And
Right.
I'm of the belief that it shouldn't have to take 40 years for change. We don't have 40 years.
That's
And so
right.
we have to run as fast as we can. That's what I'm trying to do. Run as fast as we can to get these much needed changes in our communities that we need. Our children are leaving. That's a huge, whether you Democrat or Republican, our children are leaving our state in droves and they're not coming back,
Right.
and we have to address these issues.
Well, let's dig into some of the issues. I'm gonna say a phrase, and then I'm just gonna get your thoughts on it from your perspective. Grocery tax.
What in the essence of grocery tax?
Should we
Like,
get rid
what are
of
your
it? Should
thoughts?
we keep it? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I do. Taxes are a very um contentious. There's a lot of contentiousness when you start talking about taxes. And
Right.
so other states, I know Minnesota does not have a grocery tax. They can be seen as regressive
Mm-hmm.
because it touches, a lot of low income people, whereas a lot of your taxes on land and things of that nature are not as taxed. You have regressive. It's a regressive tax. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't impact your upper income families as much because hey, they have disposable income, but
Especially
they're
with
going to feel
inflation
that.
being what it
Yeah,
is.
with inflation, yeah. And so, lower income families are feeling the crunch
So
of
would
this.
you get rid of it or would you keep it? And
Well, I
if
want
you're
to
in the
have,
legislature,
well, this what before we rush,
I got
I
you.
want to listen, have it, information gathering, do some information gathering, because you want to get buy-in. Like when I have legislation, I know we can't get buy-in from everyone, but I do,
Right.
want to work with policy analysts, think tanks, and the Alabama. What is the impact? I used to work for the Alabama Department of Revenue and Tax. That was my first job out of college, and tax is a huge source of revenue for a lot of our government. So you need tax. It's just a matter of how do we make sure that we do not have a regressive tax and have a more progressive tax system.
Right. So what are your views on Medicaid expansion?
Medicaid expansion, yes, it should have been done yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, we left
It should,
billions and
yeah,
billions of dollars on the
yeah,
table because we disagreed or our state disagreed with President Obama. I mean, it's
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and
But
and
one,
you have states that figured it out. I feel like we could have
mhm.
figured it out in Alabama as well. Yeah.
Louisiana has they're the only state in the deep south, I believe, that has Medicaid expansion, and it has tremendously helped that state. Now, and because they had a Democratic governor who
Right.
pushed for it, but I
And then it
really,
cuts down on overall healthcare costs for
yeah,
everybody
yeah, for
because the
sure,
people who would qualify for Medicaid expansion, are putting a strain on the system because they're
yeah.
not covered.
And we talk
You
about
know,
rural hospitals. That's a priority of our platform because we don't need to lose
yes.
another. Rural hospitals are the lifeline of many of our communities. A lot of our communities are in remote locations, and it's
Yes.
hard to get to. Monroeville is in the middle, of Montgomery
And
and
Mobile.
Mobile, but it's
Hmm.
hard to get there. And so we have to make sure that we invest in our hospitals. Medicaid expansion would be a
Yeah, my
huge
brother, my
help.
brother and sister, Robo and Brittany, they were both born in Mobile.
Wow.
They weren't born at Monroe County Hospital. They were particularly on the interstate, I-65 South, to be because my mom didn't want to have a baby in
Yeah.
in Monroe County Hospital, and she
Yeah.
went to Mobile. I think Mobile Infirmary, if I'm not mistaken. So I
Yeah.
mean, that's a challenge to have to try to
Mhm.
drive somewhere else, even in Selma. You got Selma has a Vaughn Regional Medical Center, which is a great facility, but there's technology that they just don't have. And
Mhm.
patients, particularly during the COVID pandemic, were trying to get to Montgomery, trying to
Yeah.
get to UAB
Birmingham.
and
Yeah.
Birmingham. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to try to, and then there
Yeah.
weren't any beds available. So I think
Mhm.
COVID-19 kind of exposed some of the gaps we have in some of our rural hospitals. In Camden, Alabama has a little small hospital where they
Yeah.
can just stabilize you till they can get you somewhere else a lot of
Mhm.
times.
And our we are very fortunate in Salem because Vaughn is, like I say, it's a regional hospital. So we get
Right.
people. Perry County does not have a hospital, so we get
Yeah,
these
y'all get
citizens of
everybody from those counties.
Perry,
Yeah.
Wilcox, um, you know, sometimes Whitehall, Clark. We have people from Clark County coming to the doctor in Selma.
Yeah.
And so, that is a huge barrier. Now, on the healthcare front, you know, I believe there should be investments not only in our hospitals, but also in health and wellness, preventative care as well,
Yes.
fitness. Um, Now, I believe that we are beyond expansion of Medicaid it has to be. I'm for a single payer health system. Other
Hmm.
countries have it, um, and so we have to have a meaningful discussions and action around states' rights and what does that mean?
Yeah, it's
Because
interesting you should say single payer because how do you convince? And I hate to say it this way, but how do you convince poorer, rural, you
well, I'll
know,
tell you this: there
Americans
are
that we can benefit from a single payer healthcare system?
people aren't stupid. They know that other countries have this and have universal health care and Medicare for all. I think the Medicare care age is like 66 or 62 or something.
It needs
All
to
you
be
gotta do is
lower.
lower. All you have to do is lower it to zero, and you have everybody. And we have, there's all sort of polling. There was a poll from Fox News that have the majority of Republicans saying they want single payer health care. Um, it's just a matter of doing what the people want.
So why is it such a disconnect? Why are these voters voting for people who don't want the single payer? It's there are things that voters say they want, but we get so caught up in the partisanship
Hmm.
and we got to beat Democrats, we got to beat Republicans, but we don't look out for what's in everybody's best interest. We could all choose
Hmm.
victory, but we all choose defeat because we too hung up on winning or beating the other side. So
Yeah.
how do we
Well,
how do we build those coalitions to focus on the issue and not the partisanship?
there's a lot of rancor and division, and you have those what they call those cultural issues or whatever.
Right, right, right.
That and they use that these there's a bait words, and that happens on both sides to
Yeah,
get. There's a lot of we are a very propagandized country, and we have a lot. We're driven by propaganda because we haven't had a government that's really been of, by, and for the people. And so when you don't have a
right.
government that's of, by, and for the people, then you say, oh well, I'm not getting this information, or I have a government that's not. There's a lot of distrust. So what are you going to lean on? Propaganda. And
Yeah,
so
you
both.
got you got you got people voting on abortion and Second Amendment, and
Yeah,
neither one of those are going anywhere.
yeah, and
So
so
why can't we
that
move on to
yeah, and
issues
it
that really matter
it's
a lot
going to
more?
take a lot of grassroots. It's going to take a lot of re-education.
Right,
It's
right.
going to take a lot of goodwill by politicians, community leaders, and more than just coming around every 4 years when it's time for election. It's going to take grassroots and public policy, good public policy, something that people can feel for us, because what we have going on right now is just not working.
Right. So let me ask you this. When you're if you're elected, what changes do you want to make to improve District 23? And what changes do you want to make to improve the state of Alabama in general? What's some of the legislation that you want to propose?
Yes. So I hope I get a good committee assignments. That's going to be key. Like I would love to serve on the Education Trust.
Mhm.
The Education Trust, that's the largest, budgetary fund within the state of Alabama. Allocates resources to public schools and community colleges. I would love to see my priorities would be how do we figure out how to make this state more livable, first of all.
Right, right.
We need more healthcare professionals. That's investments in education. I know there's a lot of healthcare workers who are in our schools and they are struggling in these programs. And so, we can figure out how to use this extra money we have to give stipends to our healthcare workers,
Right. 'Cause
healthcare
they
students.
definitely
They're
underpaid.
struggling. Yeah, but the students, like, how do we bridge a gap to, there are barriers to entry into the healthcare profession, and so that's a priority. I want to figure out how we can have fair representation within our state. A
With the
lot of our
gerrymandering and the district
but
lines and
yeah,
everything. Yeah.
but yeah, for sure. But we also have, if you make a comparison between the Public Service Commission, right, and which determines our utility rates, and
Mm-hmm.
and everything that has to do with our life, the Public Service Commission is dealing with that. But there's no representation from anyone in the Black Belt on
Oh wow, I didn't know
on that
that.
board. It's like, because that's a hurdle we have to look at when you talk about at large position. When you run out large, that puts our communities at a disadvantage, because a lot of times we don't have the population. But you need to draw that
Mm-hmm.
out. So if we compare that to the Alabama State Department of Education, we have drawn out districts, we have representation. Well, why can't our courts have that? Why can't, and I
Right.
think, and why can't we have representation on Public Service Commission? And so I think Brian Stevenson is championing that.
Because those
That
are
we
appointed
have to
positions,
amplify
right?
what's appointed.
Those Public Service Commission
Oh,
or
you vote? No, you vote for
you vote
them,
for, okay,
but
okay.
they're just, they have like 5 places, I believe, but there's not a Democrat on there at all, and
Would you
so,
attribute that to the district lines, the way they've been gerrymandered, or we just not participating as Democrats or
well, it's
even
going to be
African
hard.
Americans?
It's not the participation level. It's just like right now, as it stands, we're outnumbered, and we have a lot of like work to do as a party to mobilize voters, to engage voters. Our messaging is going to be important. And so I'm a part of the Alabama.
I want to ask you about that because
Yeah.
one thing Doug Jones said is that in Alabama you're on your own and we don't have a viable state party. Now it has improved the last 2 to 4 years. You've seen a lot
Hmm.
of improvement um, with some new leadership and everything. What do you think needs to happen with Alabama Democrats to make us a state party again and
Yeah.
not just be satisfied with a few district seats and a few house seats, and because
Hmm.
we run all these local municipalities,
Yeah.
we have all these voters that ought to translate to the state legislature, you would think.
Well, my church, the AME Zion Church, has
Shout out.
shout out. They have a project called Project 100, and a lot of that can be attributed to voter apathy. Right, you
Yes.
have people have been beaten down so much, and so there has to be a mass organization effort. Another plug: I was elected when we reorganized the Democratic Party. I was elected to the Youth Caucus. Um, so of the state executive committee for the Democratic Party, when we recreated the Alabama Democratic Party back in 2019. And
Right,
so,
right.
but I know the pandemic has hurt us a lot, just as we were gaining momentum. But there's going to have to be mass organizing efforts and engagement. People are going to have to see the Democratic Party. There have to be rallies in Selma, going
Mm-hmm.
down to Monroeville, Birmingham, Montgomery, and I'm talking about with the same energy as like these Trump rallies, okay, that
Right.
they were having. I'm not saying it has to be anything violent, but just to kind of mobilize and engage people.
So
That
let
is going to
me
be key.
on a how close are we in Alabama to what they accomplished in Georgia? We have two Democratic senators, and Stacey Abrams has a really good chance of possibly um, becoming governor. How close or how much work do we have to do, and how far are we away from what they accomplished in Georgia in your estimation?
Well, we probably would need more black people, even though Alabama Alabama is one of the
Yeah,
blackest
I,
states.
I, I was joking that
Um,
Atlanta delivered them Senate seats, but
yeah,
but no,
I'm
I
not
don't want to
sure.
minimize that. They did a lot of
Yeah,
work over
yeah, there,
10 years in Georgia.
but
Yeah,
there is more. There is a little. I'm not sure the percentages. I think Georgia may be like 33% black. I know Mississippi is the blackest state. with
And
nearly
yeah,
40%. We are at, I think, between 27 or 29% African
but that's
American.
enough to have, a
Yeah,
lot more
but
representation.
it's going to have to take mass mobilizing efforts and engaging faith-based organizations as well.
Well, I
So
also believe we got a campaign statewide in places where we're not popular. We're not taking our
of course,
message to
there
Cullman,
are,
Alabama, and the
yeah,
places where there aren't many black people because our message is good.
yeah,
We give up.
but
I
there
think we
are,
concede too many races.
but there, yes, there's no excuse. We need to be running in every seat. And
Yes,
the fact that we have positions where there is no Democrat, why don't we just start there? Making sure
yes. At least
it's
have somebody on the
recruiting,
ballot.
yes, recruiting people to run, infusing. There's a lot of donations that come in, but try to push those donations down to local races and candidates. That's going to be a game changer. Nelson Mandela said that it always seems impossible until it's done.
So somebody does it.
And
That's right.
so we I believe that we this can happen eventually, but it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of organizing for it to happen.
Well, I have another question I have for you. Because a lot of times, and this is my beef with politics just in general, we show up to the polls and sometimes we win elections and we elect people, and then we say, okay, I want this, that, and the other. Why isn't it happening? When it's not all lone politicians, there for any of this to work, it has to be the community, it has to be the business community, and it has to be government working cohesively together for us to make progress. In your opinion, what are some of the things that the community needs to work on? Maybe government can help, but what are some of the things that we as a community need to do and not wait on government necessarily?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I am a advocate. I grew up in a very strong community. Growing up in Selma. Selma's a very political place. To growing up with foot
Right.
soldiers. I was part of my first campaign at 10 years old. We helped elected. My parents were part of that, helping elect the first black mayor in the year 2000. And so that's when my interest sparked
Right.
then community stands in the gap until government comes, right? And so there has to be mass community efforts, knowing your neighbor. Um, Churches were
Yeah.
strong institutions in our community. And so they're still there. The remnants of our institutions are still there. But institutions undergird a community. So if you don't have strong institutions, or if you lose faith, or if you don't support those institutions, you won't have much of a community. And so it's going to take, showing up. Communities have to show up to town hall meetings. You have to do letter writing campaigns. You have to follow and engage with your politicians on social media, letters to the editor, calling your politicians, officers, because you have to realize that they do work for you. And so all of these things are going to play a huge key for us to see a community or a state or a region that we want. We have to have those strong communities. And so politicians must be held accountable. I believe that, like by the communities in which they serve. That's what power to the people means. Restoring power to the people mean is understanding our agency, understanding the power that we have to make those changes. Like if you don't like your community, how can I get involved to make it better?
To make it better.
The
Right.
spirit of volunteerism, right? We had a lot of that in our childhood. We stayed busy, and so there's a lot of isolation and you can't
Yeah.
get that
Neighbors don't know
shine.
each other
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah, and we have to, there, a lot of our kids, they're not as involved in extracurricular activities as they used to be, and so it's going to take adults showing up in schools as well, volunteering and encouraging, creating outcomes for healthy children in our communities, and so. We it can be done, but we have to sometimes, like I say, you have to go back to the basics. Sometimes, and I know you had a strong community in Monroeville too,
Absolutely.
because y'all love Monroeville just like I love Selma, and you carry
Right,
those
right.
traditions with you everywhere you go. And so that's what we have to do, though.
Okay. Well, now let me ask you, piggybacking off of that, what is the government's role in improving education? And as a state legislature, you know, what are some of your plans to help improve education in the district and also in the state?
Yes. Well, government is critical because government is a pot of money. That's that is what it is. It determines government determines where resources go, how resources are allocated, and so it's critical to make sure that education is a priority. Investments in pre-K. We know that if children have pre-K, they have a stronger foundation and they're more competitive and they have better outcomes educationally. Investments in community colleges, and community colleges are our future. As we
Yes,
see
yes.
as we see decline in 4-year colleges, um, the decline in 4-year colleges happen. We're going to have to invest in our community colleges, and even if you don't get a degree, community colleges play a strong role in economic development, job training program. Even if it's not,
Right.
a degree, it could be, because that's a complaint of employers. Oh, well, you have people, you don't have an educated workforce. Well, guess what? We have community colleges in every county, nearly
Yes.
every county of this country. So we need to infuse more capital and investments in our community
And
colleges
see,
for outreach.
I'm a big proponent of dual enrollment. I
Dual
feel like
enrollment. I graduated from a
every
community college. Yeah.
every student in Alabama should graduate with a 2-year um degree, in my humble
Hmm.
opinion.
Yeah.
You know,
There's agricultural education that needs. I mean, that's a huge industry. We need to have our children understand and farming. That's a survival. That is a good skill to have. And
right,
so that's
right,
where our county extension agents, those are a huge part of our educational system. Of course, K through 12 will be huge, but they could always use more investments. And so that is what I'm going to be a huge advocate for in the state senate is more investment in education, having a better educated electorate, educated workforce, so there can be no excuses for why we don't see the changes in the outcomes that we need.
right, right. Well, tell us a little bit more about your campaign. I know you got the homegrown soiree campaign kickoff coming up. I think it's a fundraiser going on. So definitely talk to us a little bit about that. And
Well, yeah, for sure. And I'm glad you brought that up. I'm not sure. Oh, yeah. Well, we kind of talked about this earlier, but if you know anybody from Monroe that wants to come, this is a
absolutely.
homegrown, it's going on during this weekend is a very important moment in history in Selma. Bridge Crossing Jubilee is going on.
Right,
We have people from all over the country emerging on the city to remember the Bloody Sunday March, which both my grandmothers were involved on Bloody Sunday. One was a nurse on Bloody Sunday who was just passed. The
right,
other, my paternal grandma, Grandma Stewart, was arrested on Bloody Sunday, and she was, a injured protester as well. And so my uncle was involved. So it's a time of remembrance and commemoration of when our democracy was realized. and the passage of the Voting Rights Act. And so it's a great tourism part. So we're having our
Right.
campaign kickoff where it's like a Selma homecoming. And
That's
so
right. That's right.
it's a meet and greet. Dress code is not strict, but soiree, cosmopolitan attire. Like it's a time. There's no cover, but keep in mind it is a fundraiser, and so we have a lot of people. I'm very pleased that a lot of people, influential people in the community, have agreed to be a part of the host committee. They believe in our campaign and our mission, and so I'm grateful for that. We're going to have a great time there. Just come, engage, fellowship, and learn more, about our platform. But it's just a kickoff for us to start our momentum. We're getting our campaign literature, we're getting our yard signs,
Right.
T-shirts, our push cards are available. They're live. We started. Connecticut County was the first county to get some of my push cards, so they
Okay.
should feel special. Connecticut and Butler. We stopped in Greenville for dinner last night. Met some people from Butler and some people from Lowndes County there last night. So we're making waves. You all are invited to come to Selma, participate. There's lots of activities going on in Selma too. That weekend we have vendors. There's a street
Right.
festival. There is our homegrown soiree is walking distance within all that downtown Selma. So some of my fondest memories of Jubilee as a child with my uncle, God rest his soul. He was a teenage activist on Bloody Sunday. He would take me and my twin sister to Jubilee, and he'd buy us funnel cakes and
Oh
polo sausage.
yeah.
I didn't realize.
The food down there is tremendous. Let me tell
Yeah,
you,
you know,
I've been to quite a few of them.
yeah,
And some of the most famous people I've seen, I saw President Clinton, not
yeah.
when he was president, but I've seen Bill Clinton and Hillary and Obama when they were running.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Vice President Biden speak. I was
Mm-hmm.
right real close to him. I got
Yeah.
pictures. I was
All the
down there when
presidential
President Obama.
candidates. Yeah, all the presidents. Like, well, people have to realize you got to go through Selma to be anything.
Right.
To get elected dog catcher, you got to go through Selma. To be president, you have
Yes.
to go through Selma, and so it is an honor. That's why we call it the Homegrown Soiree. It's about kicking off our campaign and learning about inspiring people with our message, but it's also a time for remembrance and for us
Yes.
to have
Yes.
time, commemoration and reflect on our ancestors who came before us and who sacrificed for us to do the things
Yes.
that we're doing.
Because you're gonna see a ton of civil rights leaders. The only time I ever seen Reverend Jesse Jackson was in Selma at Jubilee.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen of course I saw the late Congressman Lewis there. I've seen him a couple of different places.
Yeah.
But I saw President Obama as a candidate and as a president in
Mm-hmm.
Selma. So I mean it's a wonderful event. I can't make it this year, but I would definitely encourage anybody. Definitely go to the homegrown soiree, but definitely go to Selma for Jubilee. It is an amazing experience, and I've got fond memories of every one of them that I've been to.
Yeah. And the good thing about it is, Selma is centrally located.
Yes,
So, the heart of the state, quick trip from Montgomery, from Birmingham, Mobile.
that's right.
It's right in the central. Now, Huntsville is a little hike, but you can still make it. It's a day trip.
That's right.
And so come on down to Selma. Check us out. This is about our generation, us building, galvanizing a movement, and our generation stepping up to the plate to do what we're supposed to do. Our elders, they paved the way for us, and so it's time for us to step up.
Right. And I would like to say to our audience, Rob has agreed to take questions live on air if we have any. I'm not seeing any right now. But if we do have some within the next few minutes, we'll definitely go rapid fire and see see what his answers are.
Oh,
But
but I do
Rob,
want to add that I'm repping Selma High Saints. I don't know if you can
okay.
see it, but that's my Selma High Columbia blue and gold for life. And I also want to encourage people when we talk about encouraging a spirit of volunteerism. It is also National Read Across America Week. And so go, before the weekends, go check out a school, read to some kids. In elementary school, we were down at the School of Discovery today, which is the sixth grade in Selma. Um, Last week, I spoke at another school. I can't remember. My days are blurred, but I was at a reading to another
That's how
school
you know
last
you
week.
pounding that pavement. That's
Yeah,
right.
tomorrow, I'll be reading to some kids in a neighboring county, and I'll be at my little cousin. This is very special to me because I'm gonna be able to read to my little cousin, my little first cousin in fourth grade, at his
Okay.
school Friday, and we were able to reconnect at our grandmother's funeral. Smart as a whip, smart kid,
Oh man, they
and
making
so he's
kids
our
smarter
future.
nowadays.
Oh
That's right.
man, everybody say, "Oh man, these kids are smart."
I see
Like,
1 and 2-year-olds scrolling on YouTube and choosing their own
yeah,
videos and
yeah,
stuff. I'm like, I be
we can learn from them.
right.
That's the thing. Like mentorship goes goes both ways. We really can learn um, from them, and they can learn from us. It's not just what we can do or we can, what we know. We have to be open to learning too.
Right. Well, Rob, brother, I thank you for coming on the Electorate Political Talk Radio. And man, we would love to have you back. I know it's a little ways before the election.
Yes, but keep me in your prayers. We
May
need
24th.
donations. Yes, we need donations. This is grassroots. People have been very generous to us. That's how we've been able to get started. We have a long road ahead, and it
Yes.
doesn't have to be much. We have a cash out $ Rob, the number 4 Senate. That's $Rob, the number 4 Senate on Cash App. If you go to our website, there's a donation link to our PayPal. And also, we take checks as well. You can mail a check as well if you don't trust electronic sources. We try to make it easy to give and give people options. That's important. And I also want to
Is that
encourage
that is
every.
that right for your
Yep,
cash out? Okay,
that
I
is
got
right.
you.
And I also want to encourage people to follow us, engage with us on social media. Stewart, the number 4 Senate on Instagram. We have a Facebook page, Elect Robert Stewart for Senate. We also have a Twitter. I can't think of our Twitter page name,
That's all right.
but it's on all of our social media handles are on our website, www.robstewartforsenate.com. There's a link where you can email us as well. We want to hear from you. And I'm just grateful, my fraternity brother. I'm grateful for this opportunity.
Yes, sir.
Your brother's my fraternity brother as well from Tuskegee. I went to Tuskegee with your sister. She was a senior when I was a freshman, but she was a good role model. And so,
Shout out to Brittany
yeah, shout
and
out,
Robo.
and
Yeah.
yeah, Robo. So, tell all your folks in Monroeville, Monroe County, Frisco City, Beatrice,
Oh yeah.
everybody. We need
I got some
everybody to
calls to
come
make,
out.
man. I'm gonna
Yeah,
see what I can do for you.
yes, and come down one weekend. Out of town. I know you're a busy man, but let's knock on some doors
Yes,
together
sir.
too, because I look forward to doing that and engaging with the people. It gives me energy. I have more energy. I was kind of tired this weekend. Just working, trying to keep my job and working on this election too. But I got energy after yesterday too, just meeting and engaging with people and telling them about our message and getting buy-in. And so, we're building momentum. If anybody asks about our campaign, we're building momentum. And I'm just looking forward to the support and engaging with the people as we work to restore power to the people.
But that's really important because one thing I can say about your campaign is you are really out here campaigning. One thing that disappoints me about a lot of younger generation candidates is they feel like they can win an election on social media. And
Yeah.
that's not the case. Social media is cool as a, you know, addition, an
Hmm.
addendum, but you got to pound that pavement. You
You
got to
got
get to
to.
those folks that don't fool with smartphones and don't really fool with the
Mm-hmm.
internet, that's who voting. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where we got to really get out there and get rid of some of this voter apathy and really be engaged with the people. These elections are won on the ground, and I'm proud to see that you putting the work in, and you got the social media too, but you actually putting the real work in, and that's commendable
Yep. You
because
need
you got to
both.
do both. You got to do
Yeah.
both.
Yes, you need both. And so, like I say, I appreciate this opportunity. Brother Marion McIntosh, thank you for this platform, what you're doing. It is so important, it's critical. This opportunity has really helped me as I try to get our platform engaged in my arsenal, in my brain. And so,
Right.
because there will be more interviews, and this was a great one of my first interviews. So, of many more to come. So, I'm very grateful for this opportunity.
Hey man, I'm glad that we were here for it, man. And like I said, anytime you want to come back, just let me know.
We'll do '06, my brother.
Yes, sir. Oh six. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that has been the Electorate. Stay tuned. We got a lot more for you in the upcoming weeks and months. So just follow our Instagram, Electorate Radio, and we got a lot more coming. So this has been the Electorate Political Talk Radio. Thank you, Rob Stewart, candidate for Senate, Alabama State Senate District 23. And we out of here. Peace.